Welcome to Marty's Garden, a place where you can learn how to grow fresh food, organic food, sustainably in your backyard. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how to save your plants and set up for success through the heat wave with 7 top tips. G'day my friends, Marty Ware from Marty's Garden. I just got out of the surf, had a blast. It's the beginning of autumn now, my favourite season of the whole year. It's been super hot through the summer, and I tell you what, a lot of gardens have really gotten hammered. We've been 40 plus degrees in many places across Australia, actually a heat wave going through SA as we speak. So how do we solve that problem? Well, there are many ways, and there are ways that we can actually build our gardens and prepare so we don't have these hard times. And the first part is actually in the soil. So once we get the soil right, we can actually save a lot of our plants and get great productive crops and take advantage of that extra heat wave. So how do we do that? Well, I've created a little picture here for you to show you how about the soil. So check this out, right? This is a soil profile, a garden soil profile. And once you set this up, you can save a lot of water in here. It's called a soil storage bank, and I remember learning about that in organics when I was studying at college. And what you need to do is set it up in a profile way so it stores water and keeps everything alive. So what we've got up here is our top line of mulch. Now we need to keep that light and fluffy, not compacted, so the water and everything can get through it. It can actually create a bit of a blanket, have plenty of air pockets, and what that does is that keeps this cooler down here because all the hot air gets trapped. By the time it gets to the bottom here, it's nice and cool. For this humus zone, so the humus zone is very important. It's all that matter that's rotten up and becoming the sort of the bottom part of the compost. So the compost is very important also. But the humus zone is where a lot of the action's going on. It's where the fungi and all the different types of little microbes and things are setting themselves up, and where everything's breaking down and decomposing, I should say. Then under that we've got our compost. So basically compost is a type of humus, but we put a nice thick layer of it. So think about this, the humus zone, as your nearly broken down compost. So it's got like soft wood chip in it and things that are sort of soft and spongy, but actually haven't become a compost, which is going to yet become soil. So put that on top, and put it nice and thick as well, and so the little worms and everything can come through it, and all the bacteria and everything's in there. And you want a blocky structure, so when the water's going down, it's trickling down through each of these blocks here. The little compost worms are crawling through here, and then your compost is actually holding up to 70% storage. So good compost holds 70% water storage, and that's really awesome. So the plant's roots are coming down through here and into this zone here. So if you get this right, super important, you will hammer through the summer months. So tip number 2 is getting your soil biology right. If you get that right by setting up early, then what happens is all the microbes and the worms and everything start coming into the garden, and they'll start moving up and down. So the worms will come into the garden, they'll move up into the compost zone, they'll grab some of that compost, some of that food, and take it back down and create burrows, which helps the water go down deep, helps the roots to follow down further, and then spread out, and it creates this whole system in here, starts becoming more nutrient dense and holding even a deeper soil bank. So get your microbes, your fungi, your worms, all those invertebrates working for you and breaking down your soil. Mulch locks in vital soil moisture in the summer and keeps those plants' roots cool. And in the winter it does the opposite effect by keeping them warm. You see, that little area where all the air is traps it and sort of regulates the heat, and it helps little roots and things go through. Now if you see a little white root like that, it means that this garden is very healthy. Brown little tips means that it could be a bit sad. But if you're lucky like me, you might just find a little worm cruising through, doing his thing. So remember, a good mulch applied really helps the gardens get through these hot summers. So tip number 4 and 5 is super important. Once you've set up your water soil bank, every time it rains or you water, it's gonna fill it up and create that reservoir. It's gonna create all the stuff for the biology down below, and it's gonna feed those plants all the nutrients that's gonna go up through the water into the plant, transpire out, and start that whole cycle yet again. So the best way to do that is to deep water. Now, late in the evenings or after the sun's gone down, or early mornings. I prefer late in the evenings because it gives time for it to go through and really soak in and get everything nice and wet and moist. But you know, some of us are lacking time. So the best time is obviously when the sun's not out, just hammering on the plants. Now, when we get extreme temperatures, this is something that they do in the States, in the desert, is they actually mist their plants. So they have little sprinklers turn on, it goes and it just mists the plants, and what that does is it just takes that extra stress off it from the heat. So you may do that 2 or 3 times, and in very hot times you may even do that up to 4 times in a day. Another way they do it, which is a secret tip, is some people in small gardens erect like little poles and they'll put up a white sheet for the day just to stop the plants from getting hammered. So tip number 6 is considering planting an upper story canopy, and this could be anything that grows well in your area. That could be an annual or biannual or even a fruit tree or something like that. And that way what it does is creates that extra topper canopy, and when the sun's beaming down in the middle of the day and it's at its hottest point, it's shading down below. Now I use amaranth, sunflowers, I use some tomatoes and different things to do that. I even have papaya growing, which creates the canopy. And as it shades the soil down below and your plants, it also keeps everything much cooler, so it traps in that moisture longer. So tip number 7, guys, are the plants. Look up locally what thrive and do really well in your area, and think a little bit outside the box, because a lot of tropical plants that are annuals will perform really, really well in the summer months because they can handle the heat, and they only do a 4 to 6 month block growth anyway. So if you plant them, you get lots and lots of green food. They love the heat. The hotter the better usually, such as CEYLON spinach, KANGKONG, amaranth, there's BETEL. Lots of things that come, like they grow in the Philippines, they grow in Thailand, they grow in South America, they grow in parts of Japan and things like that. Look them up because they're great plants, and I grow them a lot here where I live. So you can check on the rest of the channel and see some of the plants that I've got. I've even got one for KANGKONG growing in containers, which I'm going to leave up here in the link up here. It's absolutely an awesome plant to grow through the summer times, and the heat, the hotter the better. And it's one of the fastest growing edible foods on the planet. Alright, look, I'm Marty Ware from Marty's Garden. Now I've got lots of videos in here. I've got over 400 videos, and plenty of them teaching you how to grow fresh food at home organically, sustainably in your backyard. So what I suggest is you go through the channel, have a look through, find what's suitable for you, and check them all out. Do a bit of a binge look. You're going to learn heaps, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in there. Have a great day, happy gardening, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now.